the senior lead NBA insider for The Athletic. He is Shams Charania, and he joins us now. Shams, how are you?
Dan, how are you? I'm good. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, we just brought up the most surprising sports story of the year. Not NBA, is Derrick Rose dropping 50. What do you think?
It's great timing. Yesterday we dropped a feature on him from my conversation with him about a week and a half ago. It's just tremendous. I think a lot of people around the league respect Derrick Rose. From the upper echelon players, I talked to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and the first thing they said when I brought up Derrick Rose was, "Man, we love him. Special player, one of a kind, forever." He's been through so much, multiple knee injuries, starting with the ACL in 2012, and then he had torn meniscus surgeries over and over and over up until 2016. And then, he's been relatively healthy over the last 2 years. He dealt with bone spurs last year. He told me I couldn't even run, and I left the team to try to figure out what was really wrong with my body, and everyone was saying I wanted to retire. I think it's just an inspirational story. I think all the reaction has been pretty spot on. It's a story of perseverance. Someone that even Derek told me about a week and a half ago. Like, I could have stepped away from the game. I have a daughter, I have a son, but the game has a hold on me. I wanted to keep playing.
And you're going against Utah, which has been a pretty good defensive team, which made it even more interesting. But if Jimmy Butler doesn't sit out, Derrick Rose is not going for 50. So let's get to that strategy here with Jimmy Butler. Is this enough to get him out of Minnesota?
I haven't gotten that sense. Listen, he wanted to see if he'd play yesterday, Wednesday, and he contemplated sitting out. This is kind of predetermined. He contemplated sitting out over the last 2 days and came up with the decision Wednesday morning, informed Coach Tom Thibodeau, "Listen, I'm going to rest. I'm going to sit out." And this is people around the organization believe that this is another sign, another way, another tactic that Jimmy's going to implore to see if Minnesota and Tom Thibodeau budge on moving him. I think most around the league believe that Tom Thibodeau has been open to engaging in conversations, but their prices have been sky high. They came so close to moving him to Miami for a package around young, promising two-way player Josh Richardson, and that didn't pan out even after they exchanged medicals. So if the Timberwolves didn't trade him after exchanging medicals with the team, there's definitely a long way to go before they actually get a deal done. I haven't gotten the sense that there's one close, but there's no question this is him, trying to use another tactic to see how Minnesota and the Timberwolves respond.
How desperate is Houston to get him, considering their 1-5 start?
I think they're very desperate to get talent in there. They let two incredibly vital parts of their team go in Trevor Ariza and Luc Mbah a Moute over the summer. I think people are glossing over the fact that Trevor played 30, 35 minutes a night. Luc Mbah a Moute played 20, 25 minutes a night off the bench, playing multiple positions. These are versatile players you need in your lineup, and they pretty much went unaccounted for over the summer. They signed James Ennis to a minimum contract, and he's been great for his role in the money that they're paying him, but he's not Trevor Ariza. He's not Luc Mbah a Moute. So I think they're reeling. I think they're desperately looking for talent. I think there's a lot of pressure around that organization, and they've made their bid. But listen, Minnesota's not taking Brandon Knight, who's injured, Marquise Chris, who's not even in Houston's rotation and not really of interest to Minnesota, and 4 first-round picks that probably convey in the 20s over the next 5, 6, 7 years. So there's really no incentive for Minnesota to do that. So unless Houston is coming up and offering Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker, I don't think a deal is going to happen on that front.
Yeah, and then, I wonder about this with the Lakers, that, they squeezed by Dallas last night, but I wonder if there's that point in the season where they make a move. I've said I wouldn't make a move. I would just, whatever the season, however it plays out, and then reassess, hit the, reset button. But can you see a scenario where the Lakers make a move by trading one of these younger players?
I think that's always in play. I would agree with what you said. I think that is their strategy in the Lakers, and that's seeing how this young group, this young core continues to mesh with LeBron James. Until you know what you have, you can't make any rash decisions. It could be very much like the Cavaliers of last year, where you see where the team stands around trade deadline, and then you move a bunch of guys and you make the decisions you see fit. I don't think that type of clock is on this Lakers team. I think LeBron James knew what kind of rebuild, not a rebuild, but what kind of team he was walking into. There wasn't just going to be a quick fix. I think he's been understanding of that. The biggest thing for the Lakers, I feel, and this young group is continuing to adapt, find their own way, and really understand what's a great shot on a possession by possession basis. I think, from Kyle Kuzma, Alonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, it's just, LeBron James has different standards. The game is played a little differently when he's on your team. So they've just got to adapt, and I think, it's a process.
More likely to not make the playoffs based off what you've seen, Rockets or Thunder? That's
tough. If things hold up like this, I lean Houston, but I think both make it. So, that prediction's moot. But right now, I think Oklahoma City, they just got Russell Westbrook back a couple games into the season. They're looking like they're finding their way. That was a big comeback win the other night for them. So I think they're going to be fine. But Houston has a little bit more to worry about in terms of health, in terms of not having the bodies right now in the lineup.
With Anthony Davis signing with LeBron James' management team, does that, is there follow the breadcrumbs here and what that means, or is that just he's going to the right people to represent him, or he needed to change management or representation?
Yeah, from what I was told, he exactly that. He needed a change. He wanted to go in a different direction. Listen, he can sign a 5-year, $240 million super maximum contract extension that I feel a lot of people are starting to gloss over and just predicting he's going to the Lakers. And it's a great storyline, right? But he has shown his loyalty to New Orleans. But there's no question at the end of the day, he wants to win. This season means a lot in New Orleans. If this team can make a run in the playoffs, I think it's going to be very hard pressed for Anthony Davis to find a better situation for him. But, he wants to win. And depending on how this season goes, he could pass on that Supermax. But I think he's still very much open-minded and loyal to New Orleans, and then we'll see his options at the end of the season.
He's the lead NBA insider for The Athletic, Shams Charania, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Why is scoring up so far?
It's a great question. I think what the NBA, with increasing the amount of fouls and paint touches down low, I think on cuts in the low post, is just continuing the hand check rule out on the perimeter, except they're bringing it on the interior, bringing it more inside. And if you can't touch people on the outside, and then you're bringing that same rule or applying the same principles in the paint, it makes it very difficult, right, for contact to take place, for physicality. And I think you're seeing that around the league. When I've talked to players, when I've talked to executives, I think that rule that they instituted before the season, that emphasis point, it wasn't even really a rule. It was an emphasis point that the league made clear to teams and players. When someone's cutting, you can't throw two hands into him, and just a low post contact. That's increased the amount of fouls, and with the amount of three-pointers being shot nowadays, I think everything is just skyrocketing.
Yeah, but you're seeing teams get over 140. Now, I'm old enough to remember, in the 70s when teams were scoring 120, 125 a night, ABA, where there was plenty of scoring as well. We didn't really have a dramatic rule change like we've had in the NFL with, what the defense can't do anymore with receivers or quarterbacks. But I just didn't know if there was something that was that specific where all of a sudden we see a spike in scoring that we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, when you combine when you eliminate contact, when you eliminate physicality, and then you have the amount of three-pointers that are being shot, and a lot of that has to do with what Golden State has done over the last 5 years or so, and you have teams shooting 30, 35, 40 three-pointers a night regularly, and you have the amount of fouls being called on a nightly basis, and I agree. Like the scoring the first week of the season, you were seeing in the 130s and the 120s. I do think in the grand scheme of things, I think fans enjoy it. I think fans like watching these high-scoring games. Of course, if you're a basketball purist, you're probably like, we missed the days where San Antonio and Detroit were getting out, in the 70s and getting wins that way. Or, that Spurs-Cavs series looks like it was, distant memory at this point. But, the game has evolved greatly.
Shams, good to talk to you. Keep stirring it up. We appreciate your time as always.
Dan, I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
That's Shams Charania. He's the senior lead NBA insider for The Athletic and Stadium.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.